Chelsea Football Club were formed in 1905 in West London, just off of the King's Road, where they play at Stamford Bridge Stadium, which has been their home since they were first formed. A club where they didn't win their first league title until their 50th anniversary in 1955 and their first FA Cup way back in 1970 with the likes of Peter Osgood and Peter Bonetti in the side. Chelsea were known, despite their relative success in the late 20th century, for their hooliganism and racism among fans on the terraces and also in the streets. However, the club have sought to clean up their act in the last 30 years and renovated their stadium in the 1990s before Roman Abramovich, a Russian billionaire, took over the club back in 2003. Ever since then, they have created a massive amount of domestic and European success, most notably in winning the Premier League title 5 times, winning the FA Cup a staggering 5 times as well as in Europe, winning the Europa League twice, most recently in 2019, and also the Champions League in 2012. In May 2021, Chelsea will also be contesting the Champions League final against fellow domestic rivals Manchester City in a bid to recreate that 2012 triumph. Thomas Tuchel, the recently appointed manager of Chelsea, will be hoping with his new starlets to create such idols of years gone by, such as Frank Lampard, John Terry and Didier Drogba. This is a club that demands massive success and has a winning mentality. Therefore, it is always a challenge as ever to keep them at the very, very top when it comes to Football Manager. Can you replicate the previous idols and previous success of this great West London club? Together, we will go through exactly what there is at this club, the youth prospects, the current squad, where you could possibly strengthen the team, as well as the possible tactics that you may wish to employ with this squad. My name is Craig from Craig's FM, and welcome to the Chelsea FC Club Guide. Hello and welcome to another club guide here on Football Manager 2021. This time we are going to be going through one half of the current Champions League finalists, which is Chelsea. They will be taking on Manchester City in the Champions League final next weekend. So I thought, you know what, let's go through this great larger than life winning mentality club, and make no mistake about it, because of Abramovich, their owner, they are kind of larger than life. They're just one of those teams, those clubs, where it doesn't matter what manager they have, they just always find that success. It's come to the point I've even just started referring to their managers as generic manager number whatever they're on, to be honest with you. But what we're going to do in this video, we're going to go through the club themselves, their players, their tactics, any youth prospects they may have as well, and trust me, Chelsea will probably have an entire academy worth full of them. So we're just here on the club summary screen. As you can see, as mentioned in the intro, they were founded in 1905, a professional club with a 4.5-star reputation around, well, sorry, not around the world, but across the world. Basically, they are well known from everywhere in any country, from the Americas all the way to Far East Asia. And as mentioned, they are currently in the Champions League, or the European Champions Cup, as it's called in FM. And that is absolutely the minimum that the club will expect, unless you want to get fired, of course. So we'll just start over. In fact, before we go there, we'll just quickly go into general info before we go into the club vision and what the board will expect of you. So Chelsea Football Club, known as the Blues, naturally, that's what their colour is. Cesar Azpilicueta is the captain. I didn't realise he was the actual captain. I thought it was someone like Jorginho, but he's the vice-captain apparently. But you've got a very highly ambitious squad for their personality, which is very good to have, but it can also be problematic when it comes to new contracts. Rivalries wise, of course, Millwall, a local rivalry, but they're not in the same league as you. Tottenham, obviously London as well. I'm surprised Arsenal are not in this. Oh, they're other rivals. Okay, fine. Of course, Arsenal, QPR, Tottenham, West Ham are going to be big local rivals, and of course, competition wise, Liverpool, Leeds and Manchester United are going to be competitive. Domestic rivals as ever. Oh, and of course Fulham, who are literally half a mile down the road from Chelsea, are your local rivals as well, but their rivalry is not even that big. It's not even considered a rivalry half the time. I'm pretty sure they have a bigger rivalry with QPR or Brentford. As far as the Legends list goes, Frank Lampard, John Terry, Zola, Osgood, who Peter Osgood mentioned in the intro, Ron Harris as well, of course Didier Drogba, an icon, and the likes of Ancelotti, Ranieri. Ranieri's on the favourite personnel list. Interesting. Antonio Conte. Chelsea are a club with many, many legends and icons and favourite personnel. So the likes of Marcel Desailly, Hasselbank, Ray Wilkins, Stephen Clark, Jose Mourinho, naturally. My goodness, Gianluca Vialli. This is a trip down memory lane. Bobby Tambling. That's going back several decades. Claude Makélélé. Of course, if you've ever heard the Makélélé role in football, it's because of this guy. So you have him to thank for that in the modern game. Right, let's go to the club vision and what the board are expecting of you. There is a lot here. My goodness. So the club culture, no, it's required you play attacking football. That is the absolute requirement that they want. It's desired that you play possession football, develop players using the club's youth system, sign players under the age of 22, and sign high reputation players. That is quite mad. So how many have they got on the 5-year plan here? Sign young players to develop for profit. That's what they've done for years, let's be honest. You just buy them, send them out on loan to like Belgium or Spain. 1-year contracts for players over the age of 30. That sounds like Arsenal. Expand the stadium. Now they're trying to do this in real life, but they've been denied. Abramovich has been denied because of several houses around the back of Stamford Bridge, which has kind of annoyed him to the point he wants to move from Stamford Bridge, but the fans are not allowing it. Oh, in fact, here you go, build a new stadium. So it looks like that's going to go ahead in game anyway. Expand the stadium and build a new stadium. That's kind of confusing. Why would you do 2? Maintain the best youth system in the country and in the Premier League. This should really be merged into the best youth system in the country. I mean, what's the point? Maintain the best youth system in the world. Just put all 3 of them together. Why not? Work within the wage budget, which is standards, of course. As far as current plans for this season, qualify for the Champions League. That's the requirement, or you are getting sacked. The quarterfinals of the Champions League, that's a requirement. So you've got to meet those. And the wage budget, or you will be sacked. Period. You will be sacked. Reach the final of the FA Cup. I'm not even American. Why am I saying period? Reach the final of the FA Cup. Carabao Cup's not important. And challenge in a domestic cup competition. So the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup, it doesn't really matter. Work towards becoming self-sustainable. The board are working towards making the club self-sustainable. So is that just an admittance they are relying on Abramovich's money? And then the next season they want you to challenge for the Premier League title. That's a very demanding list. That's very, very demanding. I would say focus on the ones that are definitely required. If they want you to sign players to develop for profit, that's a requirement. Yeah, you've got a lot to go through here, which is why we're going to be making this video. We're going to go through this whole club as a whole, just give you a bit of a heads up on where to focus. Now, as far as finances go, you've got a healthy bank balance, Premier League money and all that. You'll be absolutely fine long term. You're not going to get relegated because the board won't allow you to be in charge if you get relegated. Transfer budget wise, still a healthy 25 million. That is healthy, and you've still got 200k on the wage budget as well. That's very, very healthy to be starting with, especially if you sell on any fringe players. You're going to have a nice little budget of which to strengthen your squad. And speaking of your squads, we're just now on the squad page. I've just already sorted it by current ability, and your best player at the club is N'Golo Kante. This I can absolutely believe. A 29-year-old French central midfielder / defensive midfielder. 4-star current ability and potential. Basically, he's at his peak. He's at the peak of his game. And my goodness, these attributes, mentally and physically, yeah, this guy is going to be an absolute force in your team. Technically, he's alright technically, especially in his tackling. My goodness, I've not seen a player with 19 tackling on FM yet. So may I suggest that you use this man very, very wisely. He can play a segundo volante, apparently. I've never used that role in my life, and I probably never will. Of course, he was part of that great Leicester side of 2016, which won the Premier League title, before he then won the Premier League title the following year with Chelsea. And since then, I was going to say he was an ever-present, but he wasn't last season. He only played 22 times. Kind of interesting why he didn't play as much, but I don't know if he had injuries or whatever. He's a leading Premier League player, of course, professional individual. works well within a team, extreme bravery, and he's willing to work hard, consistent performer, and relishes big matches. He is a big game player. He's someone that he is basically a player that everyone wants. Of course, you've got other players in this squad like Pulisic, who's currently injured 6 to 9 weeks. He's going to be out for your captain's out for 4 weeks, and Chilwell's out for up to 7 weeks. And of course, the new signing of last summer, which was Timo Werner. Now, Werner's got a lot of stick because of the chances that he's missed for Chelsea this season, but make no mistake about it, in Football Manager, he is also a force up front. I've had him in FM20 with my Champions League winning side at Arsenal. He is a player that you do want up front. He's also someone who can technically play on the left and right hand side. It may not look it, but he can play anywhere across a front three. His pace, his aggression, his finishing, it may seem ludicrous he's got 16, but he is very, very good. So he's very good at finishing a ball in the back of the net. Of course, his reputation precedes him from Germany at Leipzig and at Stuttgart, where he has been banging in the goals in Germany. But in England, I feel like he's kind of yet to get off the, well, not off the mark, but he's yet to really hit stride. It probably won't be until next season that we'll officially see the real Timo Werner. He's a good player for most Premier Division sides. He's got explosive pace and acceleration. Current international. What else can we say about him as well? He's just overall a good player. I know it doesn't seem it, but he really, really is. I would personally give him a chance in FM 21 and just see him and just watch him bang in the goals for you, as long as he just stays on side. Other players that I would mention as well, obviously we all know about Christian Pulisic. He may be injured at the start of the game, but he is what Americans would actually say to you about him is he is America's greatest hope for the national team. Started out in the US in Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Classics, before moving over to Dortmund in Germany of all places, making his name there in the Bundesliga before moving across to Chelsea for a whopping £58 million, where he has been a regular, in all fairness, for Chelsea so far. And I think you'll be able to make the most of Pulisic on the wings once he gets fit again. Very agile, current international, great pace, a consistent performer as well. He's considered a very smart player. His pace though, his dribbling, his ability on the ball and his mentals are also really good for someone who's only 21 years old. He's got 34 caps and 14 goals for the USA. This is a player you may want to build your squad around as far as the future goes. And speaking of the future, I was going to say actually, Ziyech is 27 now. I thought he was younger. Well, Ziyech is a player for now. He's not for the future, but he is for now. Still a very, very good player to have in your squad. 27-year-old Moroccan can play anywhere in that midfield. That is so, so vital. He's basically James Milner for Chelsea. Handles himself in a professional manner, natural in several positions, anticipates situations well. So him alongside Kante would be a massive, massive bonus. Obviously, Ajax for the last few years, he was in that team who made the run to the Champions League semi-finals just a couple of years ago. But he isn't the future player I was actually thinking of. Actually, it is Kai Havertz, the 21-year-old German attacking midfielder and central midfielder. He is also another player you might want to build your side around in future years. Currently a Premier League level player, very technical, can improve a lot in the future. He's a light-hearted, jovial character, actually. I didn't realise that. It's not very often a real player actually has an actual personality like that, so I don't know if that's going to be a good thing because I've never had a light-hearted player in any of my sides. Naturally, he's come through Bayern Leverkusen's academy, made his name there in the Bundesliga. There's something about Bundesliga players and Chelsea. Kai Havertz, Christian Pulisic, Timo Werner. I feel like they're just raiding Germany at this point. But Kai Havertz, I feel you'll be able to get a lot more out of him than we've seen so far this season. It could be just a case of first season in England, a bit like Timo Werner. Might not see the real Havertz until next season. Having reviewed the squad screen of Chelsea, we now come to the tactics page and just quickly going through the tactics that are being suggested to you and the team that you could put out using said tactics at the start of the season. So as far as the tactics that have been suggested goes, kind of a hilarious mix in many ways. We've got the 4-3-3 wide gegenpress, which seems standard among many clubs these days, I guess. A narrow tiki-taka formation, which would allow you to use wing-backs, and hopefully they'll get up and down the flanks. Just make sure that they are of excellent quality. Reece James, actually. In fact, he's been put in here. And to be honest, he's not the fastest player, certainly not the fastest in the squad, but certainly if he's got room to improve, then maybe help him work on his acceleration and pace, just to make sure he gets up and down the flanks and doesn't run out of breath while he's doing it. And as for Emerson, he's the one with more acceleration, about the same amount of pace as James, but by the looks of it, so he looks a bit more adept and all-rounder, going up and down the left flank if you're not going to utilise the likes of Pulisic in those areas. But the third tactic that was suggested is actually a hilarious one. A route 1 was suggested with this squad. I suppose if you're up against the likes of a Barcelona or Real Madrid in the game, then you would probably want to utilise something like this, but I don't know. I feel like this is a very desperate and a very unnecessary tactic to suggest by the assistant manager. Maybe it's worth having a look at your assistant manager, see if you can get a better one. All I know is you would not play cautious at Chelsea. You would play something at least balanced and at least a positive on a gegenpress or tiki-taka. Interestingly, I did a quick pick for this squad, and the game has picked Tammy Abraham ahead of Timo Werner. Now, I know Tammy Abraham, he did play for Chelsea a lot last season. He's got the pace, he's got the mentals, he's got a lot more mentals than technical, for instance. But I just don't see, unless Timo Werner doesn't bring the goods, but I don't see how Abraham's going to be starting a lot of games for you. 15 goals in 34 last season is nothing to sniff at. The man can score goals, 68 in 145, albeit a lot of them were in the Championship. But if you've got an actual goal scorer in your hands, maybe consider Abraham as some good old competition for Timo Werner. And Olivier Giroud, I forgot, you have him as well. But the starting 11 that has been just quick picked by the assistant manager, Ariza Balaga in goal. I don't know if you would really want to stick with him, considering his actual reputation. I mean, apparently Lampard did last season. You might want to give him a shot. I mean, for £71 million, what you bought him for. 71 million. That's how you know Chelsea were desperate when Courtois left. But may I suggest either give him a chance or offload him for a significant amount of money as possible. You're more than likely making a loss on him anyway. But let's just see what he can actually do, shall we? Apparently he still has the potential to be a good Premier League player. How old is the man? He's 25. He could still get better, ironically enough. I mean, he could be a 3.5-star potential goalkeeper. But current ability-wise, he's absolutely awful. I would suggest bringing in another goalkeeper, because I think... Who is your other one? Caballero? Perhaps? Edouard Mendy. Sorry, Caballero is also in the squad, but Edouard Mendy, he's actually a better goalkeeper. Maybe go with him. 28-year-old Senegalese international. He's only just joined Chelsea. £16.5 million seems a bit more reasonable as well, and he's good for most Premier Division sides. In fact, even the game admits, yeah, he's better than Kepa. So maybe just roll with him. Let's just quickly switch them over. Emerson, Rudiger, Zuma and James as the back four. Kante in that based in midfield role as a deep line playmaker. To be fair, he can do all the roles by the looks of it. Havertz and Mount. Mason Mount, one of Chelsea's youth products, only 21 years old. Still room to improve. He's gaining a lot more match experience. He's someone who has stepped up in real life for Chelsea, and hopefully he'll step up for you as well. Stamina, work rate, teamwork, determination, all some of his best attributes. He is a resolute player. Hudson-Odoi on the left-hand side, on the left wing, sorry. Ziyech on the right with Tammy Abraham up front. Hudson-Odoi's kind of fallen off the radar in recent months, or last year and a half or so. Ever since Bayern Munich wanted to sign him. But he is a Premier League player, spirited individual, come through Chelsea's academy. And we will have a look at Chelsea's academy in a few moments. But he's a consistent performer with great pace, spirited. He's another player you might want to give a chance to as well, especially with his pace and his technical abilities on the ball. He's still described as a wonder kid. He's 19 still. I thought he was older. You have a legitimate wonder kid on your hands here, people. Make the use of him. He'll be a definite asset for you in future years. Before we head over to the staff page and the youth prospects, then we are in the team report. So here we'll just quickly see where you could potentially strengthen the squad. And just by the looks of it, you've got solid depth everywhere except goalkeeper. Kepa's only 2.5 stars. Willy Caballero is nowhere near first team ready. Please do not play him. But by the looks of it with Chelsea, you've got good depth, but no one who really stands out except for N'Golo Kante. I mean, I know you've got a wonder kid in Hudson-Odoi, you've got Ziyech, 3.5 stars. It might be worth just investing in a few areas here. For example, right wing, Ziyech and Pulisic are the only real options on the right-hand side. Central midfield, you're actually decent there. I don't think you really need to go reinvest in that for the moment, at least for the first season. As far as defence goes, I think central defence is your weakest area. Thiago Silva is your best defender, and he's 35 years old. Safe to say, he needs replacing ASAP. He's got no pace. For starters, he's just going to be chewed up and spat out by a lot of fast attackers for opposition. Kurt Zuma, I'm surprised the man is still there. He is a good player, but would you really put him in the category of world class, which is what Chelsea demand of their defenders? And for Antonio Rudiger, again in the same category, I suppose, as Kurt Zuma. He's going to be very good for you, but again, just in that world class category, I suppose. He's probably going to be a starter for you as well, along with Kurt Zuma. I doubt you're going to really be starting Thiago Silva because you'll get eaten up for pace, to be honest, by the likes of a Jamie Vardy or a Callum Wilson, and they're just going to have fun against him, to be honest. Left back, you might also want to bring in another option, someone who really stands out, and someone who could challenge Ben Chilwell for a starting place as well. And the same for the right side of defence. I mean, Kurt Zouma is the best right back, apparently. Someone needs to probably step in, someone more experienced needs to step in ahead of Reece James, who is a youngster who needs game time. But in those really big match situations, you're going to want an experienced right back, and I would recommend that ahead of Reece James, at least for the first 1 or 2 seasons. Goalkeeper, I've already touched on this. Replace Kepa if you really don't want to play him. And please, for the love of God, please replace Willy Caballero. The man is... How old is he now at this point? He's 38 years old. Good grief. He's still just as good, apparently, as Kepa, which is scary. Replace the both of them as soon as you can. Staff page now, and you have a lot of scouts that you can still bring in. Why is there so many empty spaces? Recruitment analyst as well. Recruitment analyst. I mean, you do not have that good a scout network, to be honest with you. It's closer to the bottom of the Premier League rather than the actual top. Coaches wise, you can bring in another couple of coaches as well. Just really put a lot of these categories over the top and towards the highest average in the Premier League. In fact, what's the knowledge of this club in terms of the world? So apparently you know only 28% of the world. May I suggest you get all the scouts slots sorted, and especially try and get scouts who know places such as Western Africa, North America, Oceania and Caribbean. North America, I'm surprised this is not more known, to be honest, because of obviously finding Pulisic, but I suppose he was already in Germany. Europe's covered for all intents and purposes. South America needs more work. Eastern Europe needs more knowledge. Oceania, Caribbean, get those scout slots sorted as soon as possible. Increase the knowledge of the world, therefore you can, what's the words that Zealand describes? Wire the world. And finally, we come to the page that everybody's been waiting for, the development centre, or more to the point, any youth prospects that you can bring to the first team squad. And according to this page, there's only 2 really who are first team candidates, notably Faustino Angerin, 2.5 star current ability, 4.5 star potential, an English 18-year-old attacking midfielder. I was going to say, is he a wonder kid? No, he is not. However, he is... Technically, he's half decent. He's not the best, obviously. He's nowhere near the best for this squad. In terms of mental attributes for an 18-year-old, he's actually quite decent already. Those can only go up. He's already made an appearance for Chelsea last season under Frank Lampard. It's going to be up to you though if you are going to be allowing him to make any more appearances this season, because he is going to be challenging the likes of Pulisic and Timo Werner and Kai Havertz for a starting spot. The second player who was on this list, Dujon Sterling, 2-star current ability, only a 3-star potential player. I'm quite surprised. Is there no players of higher potential than that? Especially as he's 20 years old already, English right winger slash right wing back slash right back. This man can play anywhere along the right hand side by the looks of it. That makes him a very versatile player. Again, he's got the pace, so he can easily get up and down that right-hand side. So he's someone who could probably challenge Reece James. Not for a starting spot, but certainly for that backup spot in the next few years. Although I imagine Reece James probably has the advantage, not only in terms of attributes, but also in terms of experience against Sterling here. In fact, Sterling's only had appearances at the likes of Coventry and Wigan in League One and the Championship, respectively. He is currently at Championship level, so he's not far below Premier League level as it is. Great acceleration, fits well into the squad, great pace, counts towards the homegrown nation, which is important in the Premier League, and he has potential to be a Premier League right winger, so that might be something to train him towards. He's not a wonder kid, I was just going to say, but then again, at 20 years old, I think he's long past the wonder kid stage at this level. Just bear in mind though, I've just noticed he's out for 5 to 6 months with a torn hamstring, so he's not going to be providing competition anytime soon. Right, so just a quick look at the Chelsea under-23s, and there are players of high potential, but they're all out on loan. Ampadu currently is on loan at Sheffield United, also in the Premier League, so he'll get Premier League experience. So bring him back for Season 2, once he's had that experience. Ian Matson, who's currently on loan at Charlton in League 1. Apparently he's got that potential, but he's not going to fulfill it in League 1, let's be honest with you. And the likes of Armando Broja and Conor Gallagher also out on loan, Mark Guehi. So there is, again, a lot of potential in the squads, but a lot of them obviously are going to be out on loan. Just one under 18 actually, who's 5-star potential. Jude Soonsup Bell, a 16-year-old striker. Promising striker as well. Oh, this guy. Obviously, he's not going to be one of the best players at the club. He's, even at this age, he's the 7th best striker at the club. Currently at Vanarama national level. I wouldn't send him out on loan just yet. Give him a couple of years of development in the squad. He actually started at Swindon before arriving at Chelsea the previous season. But this is a player who you could be looking at in future years as a future striker. He's already got the pace even at 16. He's 6'1", promising striker. His technicals are going to let him down, I think, a little bit, but mentality-wise, he's not too bad for a 16-year-old. This is someone I would recommend, again, loaning out maybe in a year or two, and then just see how he does in the lower leagues, and just see if he's going to be a player for you in future years. I'd certainly keep an eye on him. He's easily your best prospect at the under-18 level. A lot to keep an eye on, especially with the players who have gone out on loan. Chelsea's youth squad is going to be a goldmine for you in terms of great prospects. And wonder kids. Keep the youth academy topped up, keep it invested in. You might be producing wonder kids in maybe even the next season or two. And that's the club guide for Chelsea Football Club. Again, a team who are currently in the Champions League final against Manchester City next weekend. But this is only really the beginning for them, isn't it? They've got a bright future ahead of them. We've known this for years as far as the youth academy goes. But it's only since last season they've actually started to use it more regularly. That's the beauty of transfer embargoes in a way, isn't it? Your job as a manager for this save is to make more use of that youth academy, bring the players through, and see if you can sustain that level of success Chelsea have built up in the last 20 years. I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you're inspired and motivated to go and manage Chelsea on FM21, especially if you're looking for a new save as we head into the second half of the FM21 cycle. Thank you all so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, make sure to leave a like down below and click subscribe for more Football Manager content, and I look forward to seeing you all in the next video.